today on AI Applied. News out of OpenAI about what they're doing with this new platform, which people are talking about as a competitor to LinkedIn. And Jaden, I love this. We always hear, hey, this is going to be the new Amazon of this or Amazon of this. But the AI version of that is, OpenAI has created the X of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they're,
Yeah.
what if they're going to create a new browser to compete with this? Or what if they're going to create a new social media platform or anything that you can possibly imagine? OpenAI is in a land grab for the way that we live our lives. And this one is really interesting because I don't think there's any shortage of people who are trying to figure out the job market with AI. And that I'd love to talk more about that. Just as we're kicking off, a reminder, guys, AIbox.ai. This is Jaden's company where you pay $19 a month and you get to compare model from one model to the next. My favorite use of this is, first of all, paying $19 a month instead of what I literally now pay, which I think I just calculated at about $400 a month.
Oh my gosh.
But the idea is right, but it's crazy. But the idea that you can put in one prompt and check it against Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, etc., is an unbelievable use case, even as an add-on function. So this is Jaden's company. He's absolutely killing it. Check that out. Jaden, with OpenAI and LinkedIn, this is fascinating to me because we were talking about this before we came on the air here, which is LinkedIn is almost social media now, right? And there's some other amazing tools for jobs. But the thing that always goes viral when I'm posting, and I think you are too, is people want to know what the future of work is. They want to know what jobs, they want to know what their kids should be studying, all that kind of stuff. I know you were talking about this already. What were you saying on this thing?
So, okay, I'm going to be 100% honest. I think there's a couple interesting stories with this. One of them is just the fact that OpenAI is getting into like products, right? Applications, software, beyond just trying to make better AI tools. Now it seems like they've identified maybe a few areas that are really valuable and they can make a lot of money from. I think the pessimistic view on this is maybe they feel like they've hit a plateau with how far they can push the progress of AI. Maybe less pessimistic. So I'll give you three viewpoints on this. That's a pessimistic. Maybe the medium, less pessimistic, is that they feel like AI progress, there's only a certain amount of researchers that can push AI progress forward. And so they've kind of hit like a speed limit on it. Maybe that's like a better. And then the third is that they basically just want to make as much money as possible and justify their high valuation. And they also have, of course, 700 million weekly active users. So they have a huge percentage of the entire internet is using them. And then they're basically like, well, if we want to keep a high valuation, we got to just keep churning out products that can generate a lot of revenue. I think LinkedIn, so people say that they're going to like attack LinkedIn or whatever. I actually think that they are, but it's from two different ways. That they're going to, apparently one of their applications is a social media. So, but that's not really a LinkedIn competitor. You could imagine that as like, I think, an X competitor.
Right.
Elon Musk and Sam Altman's beef, right? We see Elon Musk and Zuckerberg had a beef, so Zuckerberg created Threads to kind of compete with X, and now I feel like we're gonna get Sam Altman doing the same thing. And I think both of them will have some varying level of success in this because they have so many users and people are creating things. And we've seen other applications where basically people create AI content and then it gets shown in sort of like a feed. And anyways, so there's a lot of concepts around this. I personally think it feels like OpenAI is just trying to get money because they don't feel like they can grow much bigger exclusively with their AI tool. And I think jobs is a place where, especially depending on how they structure it, but apparently what they said, it's going to be a service that's going to launch by mid-2026. So halfway through next year, it's going to be the OpenAI jobs platform, which is interesting because it's not like a surprise. They're like outlining basically what this is going to do. Right. And their goal is use AI to help find the perfect match between what companies need and what workers can offer. I guess my question to you, Connor, is this solution, like, sure, this is a useful product. I mean, there's a lot of useful products. I use usually Indeed when I'm hiring people for AI Box, but there's a lot of different useful products. Is this something that you feel like OpenAI has a unique competitive advantage in, or do you feel like this is just an area that there's money they feel like is on the table they can grab? Like, why do you think they chose this? Like, a million different software companies in the world, it seems like they're, basically doing like jobs and social media. Why this?
It's a really good question. I got to be honest. I think it's just the grab. I don't really think, and again, maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong frequently in the AI space, obviously. But I would say that, including sort of like Grok. I've been kind of like wrong about Grok of late, and I'll talk about that in a second. But here's how I see it. I think OpenAI is doing a couple of things. First of all, you're right. I mean, again, with AWS, with Google, with Azure, things like that, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they have their cloud platform. They have this colossal thing that they can lean back on and just make money, on not on the side. I mean, it's a preliminary revenue driver. I understand that. But I think you're right. I think OpenAI is looking for like, hey, it's not enough to just be on an app. It's not enough to just be an enterprise, everything else. Why aren't we doing this stuff with social media or whatever you want to call social media? I think LinkedIn is definitely a social media platform. I agree. Whereas Indeed, I think is actually hyper practical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think LinkedIn is the number one thing on how people find jobs. I think it's a phenomenal networking tool, and you and I are on there all the time. But I think two things are happening here. I think number one is that they are trying to experiment with what kind of platforms they can create just to own the eyeballs. I think you're exactly right. Zuckerberg creating Threads. By the way, if you look at the numbers of Threads, of people using Threads, it's actually very, very high. It's one of these things where, I had no idea. I was just sort of like really startled by the fact that everybody's kind of using it because there was that one movement toward it, in sort of like response to Elon. But then I kind of thought, oh, nobody's using it. But no, the numbers are actually really high. So I think that there's no shortage of places where people want to go to interact. But then the other two things that are happening. First of all, I think where they probably feel like they may have a competitive advantage is everybody wants to know what the AI jobs are going to be. Now, you and I talk about this a lot. People need to stop thinking about AI jobs and think completely about what do they want to do, where's their expertise, where's their domain specific skill set and everything else, and then bringing AI into that. But I don't think that's how a lot of the world thinks still. I think they're thinking, well, what does this look like for AI? So certainly if you had a job board, like let's say professional sports had their own job board, right? Like Major League Baseball and the NFL and the NBA all said, hey, we're going to create our own job board for people who want to do sports. That thing would crush it, right? Because everybody who wants to go into sports would go to that job board. It feels like they have a competitive advantage. I think the same thing is happening with OpenAI. But another take on this, Jaden, and just, recently all the big tech leaders, all the, Satya Nadellas and everybody else were at the White House, right? And they were all sort of like heaping praise on the president. That's to be expected. Totally get it. The president has a lot of power and has showed that he's very willing to wield it to sort of create winners and losers. But I wonder also if this is a movement toward how can AI address the huge fear around whether AI is going to destroy jobs, right? Because we have, elections coming up. We have a president that wants to stay popular, and we have a huge population in this country and beyond who says, hey, listen, AI is going to take our jobs in the same way immigrants are, quote unquote, taking our jobs. People are more than anything else that they care about how to make a living, right? That's it. That's number one, Maslow's hierarchy kind of thing. Like, how are you going to survive? And I'm wondering, Jaden, and this is sort of, I'm only kind of thinking about this right now, but I wonder if this is also another play by OpenAI to say, we are going to be part of the solution. We are going to help people find jobs. I don't know. Maybe I'm sort of like being too...
No,
whatever,
that wasn't a point I had thought about before, but I think you're right. I think a lot of people probably are like, man, what a random like use case for them to get into. But I've heard Sam Altman talk in podcasts before about like, oh, we need universal basic income when AI like replaces everyone's jobs and yada, yada. And everyone kind of says he's crazy. I think that you're making a good point where regardless, this might be, of course, we call this a money grab because sure, there's probably a lot of money in it, but this might be OpenAI feeling like philanthropic, basically, right? Like they're like, no, we're going to make this job board to help people. Here's one point that might go along with that. And by the way, I also just have to mention, because you brought it up earlier, I did look it up while you were talking, and Threads now has more than 400 million monthly active users. So that is, massive. It's really impressive that they, I guess, just the pure Facebook and probably mostly Instagram integration that they created there, where you can just log in with your Instagram account and keep your same handle. I think that just skyrocketed Threads. So very, very cool. So, I mean, it basically just shows how much power distribution has in making these 100%. Products. And so I think maybe that's one place where OpenAI will benefit, because they do have a lot of distribution. They already, like, basically, if you already have an app, the OpenAI app, then you can have a little bubble that pops up at the top. You click it, download the other app, and log in with your same credentials, and it makes it very seamless for people. So it could be interesting. Here's what I did think was interesting, though, that they're basically are doing is OpenAI has something, and I'm not sure if you've used it much, but it is the OpenAI Academy. So this is an online program that they launched last year, and they're planning to launch a pilot of OpenAI certifications later this year. I feel like, we've seen like things like LinkedIn Learning. It feels like OpenAI is now doing this, where basically you can get certifications, you can learn about things in AI, and you can basically prove that you're kind of an AI expert. Right. And now people can go and find AI specific people. Now, if this is just like a general job board to go hire anyone for any job, I think, okay, this isn't really on brand for OpenAI, and I don't think it will probably be incredibly successful. Like you mentioned, if you're in the NFL and you have, or, you know, if you have an NFL job board just for that, like people are probably going to go look at that. I think OpenAI, I would assume, will be targeting specifically AI jobs. Would you like to hire? But like, it's kind of tricky because what is an AI job, right? Basically, we're trying to infuse AI into every job. But probably less of, you know, hiring someone that is, you know, driving garbage trucks or a hockey player, or like there's probably certain jobs that just probably aren't going to be super relevant for this. But I think if it's specifically probably a lot of white collar jobs in an office where you have a lot of AI software that can help augment, I think people are going to be getting certifications to prove that, look, I am like a next level, you know, computer programmer or a next level graphic designer that uses these AI tools to speed up my workflow. I have all the certifications from OpenAI to prove it. And, you know, someone's looking for it. Maybe that does make sense and it's on brand. And then maybe OpenAI feels like, look, we're solving the jobless problem by, you know, getting people hired. So I do think that that's a pretty credible argument that maybe they're doing it, you know, out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah, I mean, goodness of their hearts can dovetail pretty nicely with profit, I think, and also with getting the government on your side, so the government's so they can say, hey, listen, no, we are part of the solution. I think you're absolutely right, by the way, about certifications. People love certifications. It's one of the reasons LinkedIn Learning is so popular. You can sort of say, hey, I know how to do this, but Jaden, as you and I know, and as all our listeners know, this is not, AI is not something necessarily that you kind of just get a certification, then you know what to do. And I'm in the certification, I mean, I'm not really in the certification game, but I'm all for it because it does show that people are really dedicating themselves and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really in favor of people getting AI certifications. It's just, if this is an easy way through the OpenAI Academy, I think people will be absolutely flocking to this. Look, I think that OpenAI is in the right, it's in the right business. And we can close this out on just this note, this idea that I think OpenAI can be doing a few different things at once. I think they are trying to create a bunch of platforms. I think they're trying to create an ecosystem. And if they can create an ecosystem where the demand is, which is like, we know that jobs are going to be taken away. If this is the job board, because this is the job board that you might trust, right? It's sort of specialized. It has certificates and things like that. So I like what they're doing. It's not till mid 2026. So this is a little further out and everything else. In the meantime, folks, keep paying attention to this podcast, other podcasts that you love. Keep following the people that you trust on this, because we are all completely and totally learning together. If you appreciated this podcast, you know that we love rating and reviews. So if you'd be open to leaving one, we'd be super, super grateful. Otherwise, we will see you next time.